Hello, everybody. Are you ready to envision wellness? Well, let me first introduce myself before we jump into talking about perhaps a completely different way of looking at wellness for us, our family members, and if you're a clinician, even for our patients. My name is Rakesh Jain, and I am a psychiatrist. I'm a clinical professor of psychiatry. I am an adult and a child psychiatrist. I also have a private practice in Austin, Texas. It's very nice to be with you. So those are my professional credentials, but I think you need to hear about my personal credentials too. Just like many of you, I have sadly considerable lived experience with psychiatric difficulties, and so do many of my family members. But I'm happy to report to you that I'm doing well, and so are most of them. And psychiatry and psychotherapy have played a big role in it. So I guess I'm both a professional as well as a consumer. That's why this topic, envisioning wellness, is so important to me. I would say about 10, 15 years ago, and I've been in practice for about 30 years. But about 10 to 15 years ago, I became very aware as I was interacting with my patients that something was missing. Sure, I was pretty decent at controlling the symptoms of most people, not everybody, but most people. But I wasn't really helping people flourish, thrive, to be happy, to be resilient. It felt like all day long I saw a stream of walking wounded come into my office. So I and my wife, who's a psychologist, and she and I worked together, started self-questioning ourselves. What is missing? What are we not doing right? And we turned to psychiatry and psychology, and pretty much the answer was, you're doing everything right. I'm like, but if I'm doing everything right, why are my patients and my family members not doing as well as they could? And it became very clear that what was missing in our treatment paradigm was we were not envisioning wellness. As if the only goal of life is not to have symptoms. So, like I said, about 15 years ago, we embarked on a personal journey as well as a professional journey. And I'm very pleased to report to you that now we have a much deeper understanding about the importance of wellness. We have conducted a great deal of research to demonstrate how it can be improved, and we will talk about it in just a few minutes. So it doesn't matter who you are. If you are yourself a consumer, if you are the family member of a consumer, or you are a clinician of any kind, a prescriber, non-prescriber, I think we do need to appreciate, even back in the 1940s, which was a long time ago, 70 years ago, WHO actually had a definition of wellness that medicine essentially forgot. And here's the definition. I'm paraphrasing. It says that health is not merely the absence of infirmity. It is rather the presence of physical, emotional, and social well-being. WHO, 1940s, was envisioning wellness. Where was psychiatry? Where was psychology? Where were the therapeutic sciences? Not quite there. You know that. If you're a consumer, you know when you go see a clinician, pretty much what they ask you, with very great desire to help you and your family member, is how are you doing? But what they're asking you is, what are your symptoms? And let's be clear about this. It's very important to know about symptoms, but it's not enough though. Wellness is important, but before you can embark on a journey of wellness, one has to envision it. What does wellness look like? So let's have a conversation about it, shall we? So there are many elements to wellness, certainly physical, but in the emotional world, mental health is not just an absence of insomnia or psychosis or sad moods or manic moods or substance abuse or whatever it is. It is the presence of many elements. So at least in our research group, we have 4 elements we have identified as profoundly important. These are the 4 elements we consider the core elements of human mental wellness. And they are the following. We call them the HERO, H-E-R-O. H, happiness. E, enthusiasm. R, resilience. O stands for optimism. So HERO. So this is what we did a few years ago. We want to take a quick snapshot of what American mental wellness looked like. We already knew what it looks like from mental illness. We've been doing multi-million-dollar surveys on it for many decades, actually. And we do know the American mental illness landscape is not a good one. And if you're a young person, I worry about you guys. I do. I have great faith in you. You are, well, our future, but you're also very different in how you think, how you imagine social responsibility, how you look at climate change, race relationships, all of that wonderful stuff. But wellness is one that has not yet permeated into the consciousness of all young people. Not yet. I think it'll change though. But let's go back to the American survey that I was mentioning before. We conducted that survey a while ago. We have since then published it. What it showed is overall, the American adult is not doing very well with the HERO traits. They're not. But if they have a mental health condition, any kind, there's a dramatic reduction in their mental wellness. And I do mean dramatic, depending on which measure we were looking at, anywhere from 18% less to 25% less. We then coined a phrase, let's see if you like it. We coined a phrase that there is a disorder not yet identified by the medical community, but patients and their family members know it. And that disorder is wellness deficit disorder. Of course, that's a play on words. There's no such disorder. But come on, think this out with me. Have you not seen that? Have you not seen that in people around you, particularly if a mental illness steps in? They have a combination of mental illness and lack of mental wellness symptoms. Have you not seen that? Sure you have. It happens that routinely. So it's a call to action for all of us. And when I do say all, I absolutely mean all. The person, the family, the city. The city has a role to play in it. States have a role to play in it. Societies have a major role to play in it. The world has a major role to play in it. Just the way, use COVID as an example, shall we? Who is left untouched? Nobody. Same thing with mental wellness. If it's low and no one has envisioned it, we all suffer. It's just that it's a very silent pandemic, right? No one is putting out daily bulletins on American mental well-being. We will have to take some responsibility to address it. So have some other countries taken charge? And on this one, there are actually, did you know that there is a cabinet level position in the United Kingdom? Cabinet level position at the same level as Treasury, the Defense Department. They have a Minister of Loneliness or a Ministry of Loneliness. Because they have found that when people are socially disconnected, which is occurring more and more, particularly in our Western societies. Mental wellness drops. So they've created a cabinet level position in order to create society-wide interventions to improve English and Scottish and Wales and all that good stuff, their mental wellness. Are we there in United States? No, we are not. That's why this conversation we are having is so important. So at least for the purposes of thinking about this, it may not be a bad idea to ask yourself, am I, or my family members, or my patients, if you're a clinician, are they suffering from a hidden pandemic of wellness deficit, and what can I do about it? It's not enough to know there's a problem. We got to do something about it. So let's change gears, shall we now? Now that I have laid out for you a pretty devastating scenario, I really am. I'm not a pessimistic guy by nature, but I sometimes do have to call things the way I see it. We are affluent as a society. There's disparities in income, but as a society overall, we are affluent. Our lifespan is growing. But our mental wellness, I think this is our 6th year in a row. American mental happiness has been on a decline. What is wrong? This doesn't make sense. What is wrong? So there are many challenges. So let's now turn to talk about solutions. So first things first, be aware that your wellness is a crucial element. It may actually be your single most important possession. Nope, no exaggeration. I do believe your single most important possession may be your mental wellness. It beats everything. Here's an example, Abraham Lincoln. Here's another example, Winston Churchill. Both suffered from pretty severe psychiatric challenges. Pretty severe. Churchill wrote about his depression before he was 10 in his notebooks. He called it the Black Dog. Abraham Lincoln attempted suicide multiple times. They suffered. Yet, because of their inner core of mental wellness, they not only achieved great things for themselves, but great things for their society and world. See, mental wellness is your single most important possession. What can we do? As I said first, let's acknowledge if there is a problem, we need to address it. The second thing I would recommend is the following. If you're a consumer or a family member of a consumer, bring up a conversation about wellness with your providers. They may not yet be alert to that being a real need for you. They may not yet be aware that besides treating tearfulness, they should also help you improve your resilience, your optimism, your enthusiasm. And there are ways to do it, which again, we're going to talk about in a second. And if you are a clinician, please be sure to bring up that conversation with your patients. Sure, there are times where a person is so ill, controlling symptoms is the only goal. So be it. You can always come back and talk about wellness and offer input on ways to improve it down the road. Got that? But the conversation must happen. It is too important to sweep under the carpet and say, let's just keep on living, because a life without meaning, without purpose, without wellness is not really a life, it's existence. Existence is not what people want. People want a life. I want a life. What about you? Yeah. You and I have similar goals in that regard. So what helps? So there are specific positive psychology exercises one can do on a daily basis. One of them, one of the easiest ones, and if you haven't tried it today, give it a shot. gratitude. Gratitude. Sometimes a mental inventory of gratitude, sometimes a gratitude letter or gratitude. Who writes letters today, right? But how about a gratitude email, a gratitude phone call? There are ways to improve resilience by remembering good times, recollections. There are many, many techniques that are well studied that come from the world of positive psychology that we are starting to incorporate into psychiatry. And there's a new field. I am happy to be proud of that particular field called positive psychiatry, where the goals of treatment are higher than what they used to be, which is mere symptom control. Again, remember, please don't misunderstand me. I'm not suggesting symptom control isn't important. To the contrary, I think without symptom control, this engine won't go very far. All I'm suggesting is symptom control only is not enough. There are many other things that work and proven to work. I and my research team have conducted, I think, over 10 studies, some of them in people as young as 18 and in college. Oh my Lord, talk about a stressful time. And many of them in people who are over 65 and in chronic pain and on opioids. So far, we haven't yet had a negative study. In other words, simple interventions or seemingly simple interventions can be very helpful. So here are a few things I would like to talk to you about. Exercise. Oh my gosh, dear colleagues, I'm not a cardiologist. So why am I talking about exercise? For one simple reason, the brain-body link on exercise is so strong. Any one of us, me, you included, any one of us who excludes or underappreciates the importance of physical exercise in improving mental well-being is missing the point. It is profoundly helpful, particularly not long. You don't have to do it for 2 hours a day. 30 minutes is good. 30 minutes is good, but the 30 minutes does have to be on a regular basis. That's the first intervention I'll talk about. Those not only improve mental illness symptoms, they also improve mental wellness. The other one is mindfulness or meditation. Now, you're welcome to call it yoga. You're welcome to call it Tai Chi. You're welcome to call it whatever. But it's very, very helpful. Because of time today, I won't go into great detail about why. But for the time being, take my word for it. It helps both from a biological perspective, psychological perspective, emotional perspective, and very often spiritual perspective. The other things I would highly recommend as wellness improving techniques, sleep. Yep, in COVID times, we have sometimes taken a license. I'm going to watch Netflix till 1. Then I'll switch over to Amazon Prime. And then I'll get up, my first Zoom appointment isn't until 9. I can get up at 8:45, slap on my Zoom face. Who's going to notice that I haven't brushed my teeth or taken a shower, right? So things have slipped a little bit. Okay, slipped a lot. Can't do it. Sleep hygiene is extraordinarily important. I keep telling my patients, think of sleep hygiene as medicine. Let's do it right. And there's a couple of other things that are very important. Nutrition. Oh, wow. We are what we eat, folks. And I mean that both physically, but I also mean that metaphorically. We are what we eat. Every brain chemical I have, every brain chemical you have right now came from food. Not saying they're in the food, but we take the raw materials from the food and make our serotonin and norepinephrine and dopamine and GABA and glutamate or whatever it is. It doesn't come from thin air. Therefore, not paying attention to nutrition is such a bad idea. We'll talk more about that at some other point. And then I think the most important of all the wellness interventions, maybe that's an exaggeration. It is a key member, though, of the wellness interventions, and that is socialization. Oh, I can already hear you say, but in these COVID times, I can't go out. I have to cover my face. I have to do social distance. I can't see people. You're completely right. You're completely right. I'm in the same boat as you. However, let's not use that as an excuse to reduce our socialization to the point that it's harming us. Sure, the medium I'm using right now, which is an electronic medium, is not as good as you and I sitting in a living room face to face, having a deep, meaningful conversation. I get that. However, this is not nothing. This is something. This is something important. That's why conversations such as this, including a phone call, including texts, are crucial in our mental wellness. Do not let this pandemic be an excuse for abdicating our own responsibilities to ourselves. Okay, let's start wrapping up our conversation. I started out by requesting you envision wellness. Envision it. What is the vision? What will happen in the next 5, 10, 20, 25 years? Faster internet? Better laptops? More video games? Faster cars? Yeah, all that will happen. But really, what's that going to do for us? It hasn't really, look at the evidence. Those are not progress. Let's not consider that real progress. The real progress is between our ears here. Our minds, our brains, our bodies, our social connections, and that's wellness. So I'm recommending, and I'm trying to live by it myself. So hopefully I don't come across as preachy. If I do, apologies, didn't mean to do that. But what I wanted to do is to talk to you as a clinician who did not accept wellness, did not envision wellness the way I should have in my 30s. Now I do in my late 50s. I think I'm a much better clinician by not just envisioning wellness for myself, but asking my patients, asking my consumers, asking the support system for those patients, asking clinicians. Let's re-envision wellness if we have had a vision before. If not, let's envision wellness in such a way that the fulfillment of what human life is all about can be achieved. So thank you very much for spending a few minutes with me talking about a topic that is very near and dear to my heart. And all I can say is this to you. I wish you the best of luck with all your treatments if you're receiving it. But I definitely want to wish you great wellness for now and for the future. Bye for now.